Recently, the 2022 XXL freshman class was revealed and met with mixed reactions across the board. Many of the critics began citing how the freshman classes get worse and worse each year. Shortly after, I noticed discussions about which class was the greatest of them all popping up all over Twitter. XXL themselves dubbed the 2016 class the GOAT, and at the time of writing this, it was also deemed as such by various voters on Ranker.com. Voters who also dubbed the 2021 class the worst of all time. I found all of this pretty intriguing and started to wonder which class was the best statistically. Which class had the most commercial success? I wanted to see if there was a way to determine the most successful class by the numbers because I don't have a social life. And plus, I was always somewhat biased towards the 2010 class, which I've often likened to the 96 NBA draft because it featured the likes of J. Cole, Wiz, and Nipsey. RIP to everyone in these classes who are no longer here with us, by the way. So to the point, I made about 13 raggedy-ass spreadsheets and decided to get the numbers for the 2007 class all the way to the 2019 class. I decided to leave the 2020 classes out of it because they really don't stand a chance here. Now I know some of you are thinking that there's no feasible way to gauge artist success precisely when some of these groups have had significantly less time to work with than others. And that's true. There is no way to truly do something like this with 100% precision. I do, however, believe that it's possible to be somewhat accurate. The average span of a rap career in terms of relevancy is only 5 years, and most artists are at their most successful when they break out. I mean, consider how many artists, many of which are part of this research, had some kind of banger when they initially hit the scene, and then after that they kind of faded off into the sunset. So although this method may not be perfect, it still gives us somewhat of an idea of which class is the most successful. And the results may actually surprise you. So before I get to the point, let me go over some very important ground rules and outline the criteria gathered in the data. So for starters, once again, I'm only looking at commercial success. Anything beyond that will require me to dedicate my life to making a video that only gets 11 views. An artist can have an amazing underground or mixtape run, and I'm not looking to discredit that or shame any cult following artists like my man Currency. My skull is just way too empty to run that many numbers. So with that in mind, I decided to break things down into 7 possible categories. Albums that are certified platinum or gold in the US, and yes, I'm only using US charts and sales figures. Not xenophobic or anything, but if we go global, that's just way too much work. And also by albums, I'm also including mixtapes, EPs, and collaborative projects that an artist is included in if they manage to reach search certifications. I'm also looking at albums that charted number 1. Keep in mind, an album may go multi-time platinum and still not have ever hit number 1 on the charts. I'm looking at number 1 singles, and these include songs that the artist was featured on and songs that may even transcend the genre of hip-hop as long as it charted on Billboard. After that, I'm looking at the total amount of songs that did chart for each artist. And finally, I'm looking at total Grammy wins and Grammy nominations. Now to be clear, I don't fuck with the Grammys. I might do a video as to why, but if you know, you know. But the Grammys do give artists who may not exactly be household names a shot at some recognition. Artists like Cordae or Freddie Gibbs, who have both been nominated in the past, for example. Just a heads up, the number of artists in a class is normally 10, but some may have 11 and some may have 9. It doesn't make the biggest difference though, as every class has at least 1 or more artists who has had no commercial statistics to put up whatsoever, so it kinda balances out. So hopefully that all makes sense. Now to make this a little more interesting, I'm gonna add up all the numbers for each artist and treat them like points to label an MVP for each class. And at the end, the classes will be ranked by overall total points. Now that was a lot of rambling, let's kick this off with the 2007 class. Plies is the only member of this class with a platinum album, The Real Testament, and he also had the most singles to chart. Boosie is probably the most relevant these days thanks to his social media antics, but with a score of 43 points, the MVP of this class with 12 Grammy nominations, 1 win, 21 charting singles, and 4 number 1 albums is Lupe Fiasco. The collective score for the 2007 class is 119 points. Quick little side note here, if the purple portion of the bar isn't elevated, then that artist has no Grammy nominations. I know that's probably obvious, but I just thought I'd mention that before someone asked me when the fuck was Saigon ever up for a Grammy. Now let's move on. Now, there was no 2008 freshman class, so we're at 2009. Collectively, the numbers may not look amazing aside from 3 artists, but thanks to those 3 artists, this class outscored 2007. With a score of 42 points, Yall contributed 3 gold albums and 6 #1 albums. With 39 points, B.O.B. comes in with 2 platinum albums, 1 gold, and 6 Grammy nominations. But the MVP of this class is none other than Kid Cudi, who has 2 Grammy wins to contribute in addition to 6 nominations, 2 platinum albums, 3 gold albums, 4 #1 albums, and 47 charting singles, giving him a score of 65 and this class an overall point total of 165. Little fun fact for y'all. The 2010 class would have been 100% decisive if Drake and Nicki Minaj didn't decline their invitations. They both figured their careers had already taken off by that time to be considered up-and-coming talents, and yeah, they were right. But despite their omission, 2010 easily surpassed the previous 2 classes thanks to dominant numbers from the MVP J. Cole. 6 platinum albums, 6 #1 albums, 86 charting singles, 16 Grammy nominations and 1 Grammy win, and an overall score for him of 117, which damn near eclipses 2007 single-handedly. Big Sean adds 90 points with help from 70 charting singles and 6 #1 albums, 3 of which have platinum certification, and Wiz Khalifa adds 69 points as well. And the class collectively has a significantly higher combined total of 313 points. Now, if the 2010 MVP wasn't immediately obvious, 2011 definitely is. Kendrick was nominated for 39 Grammys and won 14 of them. He adds 4 platinum albums, 1 gold, and 6 #1 albums, with 3 #1 singles and 94 charting singles. Kendrick pours in a total of 161 points, which is the highest total for an artist so far. Meek Mill comes in second place with 90 charting singles, 2 platinum albums, 2 gold, 1 #1 album, and 2 Grammy nominations. By the way, are any of these numbers surprising to anyone yet? Again, we're only talking commercial success, and this class takes the lead so far with 354 total points between everyone. 2012 is actually pretty ridiculous, and it's primarily thanks to one guy. Fucking Macklemore. Nah, I'm joking. However, he is part of the reason that I hate the Grammys with his 4 wins and 7 total nominations. But Future is without doubt the Steph Curry of this class. French Montana is probably Clay or fake Clay that got his ass banned, and Machine Gun Kelly would be Andrew Wiggins. The rest of these niggas are James Wiseman. But back to Future. His numbers are actually asinine. 6 platinum albums, 4 gold, 11 #1 albums, 2 #1 singles, over 200 charting singles, 1 Grammy and 4 nominations. Future might possibly end up with the highest score out of anyone in this entire experiment. He puts up 229 points for his class single-handedly. Nobody else's numbers really even matter after that, but 2012 has a total score of 430 points. This class was even supposed to include A$AP Rocky at one point, but he had to decline due to a scheduling conflict. But anyway, let's move on to 2013. So I know every class seemed to progressively put up bigger numbers, but now we'll take a bit of a nosedive. The 2013 class hasn't been quite as successful in the mainstream, but they receive a massive contribution from Travis Scott, who has 121 of their overall 214 points. He's got 3 platinum albums, 4 #1 albums, 5 #1 singles, and 100 charting singles. No Grammy wins, but 9 nominations. Unfortunately, despite 12 collective nominations, no one in this class has won a Grammy. I think Action Bronson was low-key canceled back around this time after he put a song out that had people protesting. That adds no value to this subject, but I just saw his name and was reminded of that. So yeah, let's move on to 2014. This is another class that could have had better numbers if Young Thug didn't fail to attend the shoot. Although this class is still pretty formidable without him, with the likes of Chance the Rapper, Ty Dolla $ign, Kevin Gates, and Lil Durk, who is the 2014 MVP by far. August Alsina also did crazy social media numbers, but that's neither here nor there. There isn't much widespread commercial success here, but Dirk dominates with 95 points after contributing 82 charting singles, 3 Grammy nominations, a couple of #1 singles, 3 #1 albums, 4 gold and 1 platinum project. The total score for this class narrowly beats out 2013 with a total of 216 points. Now, what may or may not come as a surprise, the 2015 class has had the least commercial success thus far. There are several names that I completely forgot about if I'm being honest. Kid, K-Camp, and Rory specifically. I thought Rory was dope. Fetty Wap adds the only platinum album in this class and is ultimately the MVP with a score of 23. No one else in the 2015 class amassed points in the double digits, giving them a total score of 54, which is the lowest by far. Both I Love McConan and Party Next Door were supposed to be members of this group, but they left XXL on red, so it is what it is. So not much to see here in terms of data, but next up we have the class that is deemed the GOAT class. Let's move on. 2016 without doubt has some of the most solid numbers across the board so far. Lil Uzi, Yachty, Kodak, G Herbo, Anderson .Paak, and 21 Savage. It's a legendary class indeed. Anderson .Paak has the most Grammy nominations here with a total of 11 and 8 wins. He ultimately has a total score of 37 points. 21 Savage would have been the MVP of several of the previous classes, but I think most people already knew that Uzi would take the honor here. 91 charting singles, a #1 hit, 2 #1 albums, 1 gold and 3 platinum albums, and 2 Grammy nominations give him an even score of 100 points flat. With 83 points from 21 Savage, 55 from Kodak, and the numbers from the rest, the 2016 class comes up with a total of 332 points in all. And it was at this point where I realized that this video was a stupid idea. Future might have put his class out of reach by himself. This year was supposed to include Tory Lanez and Post Malone, but Tory felt like he was beyond it, and Post Malone just didn't feel like flying to New York, and I totally understand that. But we're almost at the finish line, so let's move on to 2017. Now, this is a class that was supposed to include Young M.A., who just felt beyond it, YFN Lucci, who refused to participate and then changed his mind ultimately for XXL to reject him, Cardi B, who just had other shit to do, and Famous Dex, who was actually ducked by XXL after stories started surfacing of him assaulting his girlfriend. But to the list, A Boogie was doing work with 4 projects that hit platinum certification and 39 charting singles, giving him a total of 43 points. I went into this year thinking that Cardi would be at least #2 in the class, considering that this class contains XXXTentacion, but he hasn't really put out a ton of music. He ultimately adds a 30-piece. And again, the MVP of this class is none other than XXXTentacion, who narrowly edged out A Boogie by literally 1 point. 2 platinum projects, 2 gold, 2 #1 albums, 1 #1 single, and 37 charting singles gives him a total of 44 points. The 2017 class totals out to 139 points collectively. Now, the next 2 groups had me on the fence on whether or not I should include them, but then I noticed that one of them could potentially outrank the majority of the list. But that's not the 2018 class. The 2018 freshman class takes a bit of a nosedive statistically, with Trippie Redd being the commercial standout with 46 points. He adds quite a few charting singles, a platinum album, 3 gold albums, and 2 #1 albums. Lil Pump and Stefflon Don are the only others to put up double figures. And seeing YBN Namir's name here is reminding me of my earlier statement about the average lifespan of a rapper's relevance. Nothing else of note here that's too interesting. The 2018 class comes in with a total of 96 points. And finally, we make it to 2019. Immediately, there are much more Grammy nominations thanks to DaBaby with 6, Roddy Ricch with 9 nominations and 1 win, Cordae with 3 nominations, and Meg Thee Stallion with 6 nominations and 3 wins. And there's a ton of orange on this board, and Gunna being the MVP of this class leads the charge. 76 charting singles, a #1 single, 4 #1 albums, 2 being gold, 1 being platinum, gives him a score of 84. Now, I could make a joke about DaBaby having the most hits IRL, but that's too obvious. But he does pour in 73 points like David Thompson against the Pistons back in the day. And when it's all tallied up, The 2019 class has a collective score of 270. And with that said, let's recap how each class stacks up against each other in order from most commercial success to least. So according to my half-assed research, the most successful class would be 2012 thanks to a Herculean effort from Future. He's also the XXL Finals MVP for having the best numbers overall. In second place is 2011, third place is the GOAT class of 2016, fourth place is 2010, fifth place is 2019, sixth place is 2014, seventh is 2013, 2009 comes in 8th, 2017 comes in 9th, the original class is in 10th place, in 11th we have 2018, and in last there is 2015. So there you have it, folks. Were any of these results surprising? Let me know in the comments below. Now, I began working on this video over a week ago, and new music has dropped, so some of these stats could have quite literally changed, but not so much that there'd be a different turnout overall. So hopefully you all enjoyed the content, and if you like this video and want more, don't forget to subscribe and I got you. And with that said, I will catch y'all in the next one. Later.